I want to teach people that courage that they can look at themselves. I can teach how to communicate difficult things. My mission is to make leaders lovable dicks. So if I have to choose, I'd rather be this tough guy, this dick, and face to actual a situation or conversation or whatever. Because it's so easy to assume things, then it starts to get wrong.
Okay, we're back again for another episode of the FLT podcast. How's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Good.
Good. Excellent.
Lovely. Been going for quite a while now, and we've had a lot of different perspectives. But one of the, I would say, viewpoints that I really wanted to capture from Finnish leaders was someone with a bit more of a traditional industrial background, and also someone that doesn't necessarily come from kind of like the Helsinki Seutu, the capital area where we've got a lot of our kind of big institutions. And so when we were looking for people who could kind of represent that more down-to-earth approach for leadership, the first name that came to my mind was you, Minna Patosalmi. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you.
Good.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. As always, we've prepared a little bit of an introduction for you. Anneli, would you do the honors?
Of course, yeah. So Minna, you are an optimist from Orimattila, dynamic leader with over 20 years of experience at Ferroplan. Originally a family-owned business in Finland's Päijät-Häme region. Ferroplan specializes in designing, manufacturing and integrating advanced conveyor systems for handling both piece items and bulk cargo. Ferroplan is a true success story as your father started the company over 40 years ago in the garage of your family home. Starting as a summer worker, you have held numerous roles in the company, from finance and marketing to 6.5 years as a successor CEO and now as a chairman of the board. You are also a board member of CIA Ferroplan. In 2023, Ferroplan's turnover exceeded 15 million euros. At Ferroplan, a dream team reinforces the company culture while a strategy group guides and evaluates the board's efforts. You are also a chairman of Hallituspartnerit Häme and a leadership mentor dedicated to fostering a meaningful business. As a coach, you announce, if you want things to stay the same, choose someone else. You write Ei mitään rimpuloita blog, Finland's only industrial blog, and have published over 200 articles. Outside of business, you enjoy reading, renovating, and exploring new passions. Your childhood dream was to be an astronaut, perhaps reflecting your lifelong ambition to aim high, desire to reach for the stars. You are passionate about combining the human side of leadership with tough business decisions. Your candid approach, best summarized by your slogan, olen ennemmin mulkku kuin lammas, I would rather be a dick than a sheep, emphasizes transparency and facing difficult situations head-on, cultivating an open dialogue to avoid bigger issues down the road. You say, mulkku pitää olla, mutta ei kusipää. I have got to be a dick, but not an asshole. So, is this a fair reflection of you, and when was the last time you needed to be a dick?
Thank you. That was like a brilliant introduction. And being a dick is a lifestyle choice. So I'm being a dick like every day. But when was the last time when I, do it like that I was really thinking how to choose in this situation? I think it was like a few months ago when I needed to end cooperation agreement, which I knew wasn't functioning all right. So I needed to do this tough decision just to make the situation better for both of us. So I think that's the last one that I can remember. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
How did you feel afterwards? So
relieved.
Yeah.
And I think that's one sign to you when you are using this kind of technique or how you want to call it. how you feel afterwards. It tells a lot.
How did you end up with this philosophy of life or leadership?
When we think about being a dick or sheep, I invented a dick card, in Finnish mulkkukortti. And it actually says in front page that I rather be a dick than a sheep. And it's invented to solve this difficult situation or conversations or whatever. And when you think about this kind of situation, you have to make a choice. And when I am making the choice, I'd rather be the dick than a sheep. Because if you think about sheep for a while, sheep go with the flock. And when the danger is coming, they just run. You know, they run, and they don't think about anything. Yeah. So if I have to choose, I'd rather be this tough guy, this dick, and face the actual situation or conversation or whatever. And I know it will be hard. It will be hard for me because maybe I'm feeling some difficult emotions or whatever. And it may be also hard for the other person, but I have to do it. And I have to do it now, or else it will be worse. It will be really big, like a problem later on.
Okay. And you live on a farm, if I understood right. Do you grow sheep?
Yeah, actually, we have 3 sheep at this moment. Yeah, and I can tell you that I can be friend with those sheep, so they are really cute. But every time I see them, I'm thinking that if the wolf is actually coming, they will run. They are not going to face him. Well, that's a good thing for them.
Yeah.
But anyway, then I remember why I choose to be something else.
Do you treat them well?
Sure.
Your sheep?
Of course, I do.
Actually, I have a question that listening to you, I think one could come up with many alternatives for this dick concept, right? And given that you're using sheep, so one could think that, lion, for example, lion, I'm not more a lion than a sheep. Why did you go for this dick thing specifically?
It all started when I have a development discussion with my employee. And we started to talk about how to handle these difficult situations. And then I just, it was just a thought. I just said randomly, like, I'd rather be a dick than a sheep if I have to choose. And he said, well, you are doing a good dick. And I was, oh, thank you. And then I realized that it's not a bad thing actually to be a dick if I have to choose between those two. And it was just a thought, but then it started to live its own life, and yeah. But the key thing is that when you turn the card, behind the card it says vastuu, which is responsibility. And it's all about taking a responsibility of this tough situation. It's not actually being a dick or sheep. It's being responsible for this kind of things. So this is the clue of the card.
And I think that's interesting because I think if you anthropomorphize, so if you turn it into like an animal-to-animal comparison, everybody wants to see themselves as like the lion and like be the hero. But lions don't have responsibility or conscious or that kind of, I would say, stuff attached to it. Whereas actually like, being a dick, I think socially it's acceptable in certain circumstances under the right conditions and basically only under those conditions. So it's a strange, I mean, I like the fact it's provocative language, but it's I don't know, it's really accurate,
Well, I really want to contribute to this discussion. No, it's just what I'm thinking about. So where I come from, obviously not from Finland, from another country. So there's a lot of single mothers in that country. So from that perspective, so being a dick or dicks in general are not very responsible, right? So do you think it has some kind of cultural connotation? Like here it works in this Finnish culture because we are kind of exploring Finnish leadership here. And would that work in other cultures as well?
We will see that when it comes international, you know. For now, it's only like a Finnish thing. But I think the idea is the same, you know, and taking responsibility, it's the same in every country. You know, you have to be like this responsible person, you know, to make the right choices. And then we have to make one note here. It's different to be a dick and an asshole, because a dick is person who can make this difficult situation, you know, in a brave way, you know. You can find the courage, you bear the responsibility and so on. But if you are an asshole, you are mean. So then you are, you know, attacking the person like in a mean way, in a hurtful way. And that's not cool. That's not okay. And I don't want to see that anywhere. So there is difference.
Earlier on in your career, you took over the CEO role of your company from your dad. Can you take us back to that time? And I would say like your first interactions with the leadership team and the people that were in the company at that point. How was that for you?
The first thing that I wanted to do with everybody, there was around like from 40 to 50 persons then, back then. I wanted to have a development discussion with everybody. And I started with our like a metal, like a assembly guys, you know, the workers in production. And I thought that if I can do this, I can do anything. And we both, when we first started, we both were really nervous, you know. But it was well spent time, you know, time well spent. And I wanted to know about how they are doing their work, what can we do to make it better, make it easier. It was really interesting. And I wanted to do with everybody. And it took me 1 year to have this conversation with everybody. But I thought that I need to do this before I can get, you know, really starting to develop things and so on.
What does the development plan for a metal worker look like?
When it comes to like a one worker, for example, in production, it's really like down-to-earth things. It's really simple things. And also it can be like, everything is going okay. And, you know, maybe if we can have this little thing, or maybe we should arrange this a different, okay. So it can be, it hasn't have to be, you know, big things and, you know, development things. But I really wanted to hear what they are thinking. Even if it's big things or small
things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've read in one of your interviews that you say that you don't believe that traditional development discussions actually work. Why is that? And, you know, how did you replace those kind of more traditional development discussions?
Yeah. We also had the traditional way of doing those discussions. So loads of paper and, you know, a couple of hours of sitting around the table and, you know, then we go back to work as we used to do it, you know, before. So I wanted to do it different way. And I heard about this company that were doing this development discussion through 4 questions. And I wanted to try it. And those 4 questions were, how are you? What have you been doing? What have you done? What's the second one? The third one is, what are you going to do next? And the last one is, how can I help you? And that's all. And as you know, you can have like 1 day of conversation around these questions, or it can be like a half an hour. It depends. But we tried and everyone said, this is good. Let's continue like this. And we have continued since. And I think now it has been like 10 years. So it's working really well.
So what works about these 4 simple questions? Why it works, why people like it? Because like in my understanding, a big part of this development discussion is that you actually talk to a person, you show some, you know, you listen to them, you kind of give them space to tell you all kinds of thoughts, as emotional support and things like that. Are you able to do that within these 4 questions?
I think it's exactly what you just described. So the last question, how can I help you? It's maybe the most important. And many people ask me, oh, everybody is asking for more, salary or, more money. But it's not like that. It's really like a genuine thing to do that kind of discussion. And first question, it's how are you? Well, some people, they tell like everything what's going on in their lives, and that's totally okay. Somebody is strictly staying in their, in their like a work position. And that's totally okay. So it's also very interesting to see how many different kind of answers I have for these questions. And then when we have the second one, what have you been doing? It means that you look a little bit like back. I don't know how to say this in English. Yeah. But you can just see what have been like a successful things, is there like some mistakes or some challenges? And then we can discuss about that. And then you can see what is coming next, what are you going to do next? Do you have enough, the road you can see ahead or no, everything like that. So it can be, anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it must be the case that first question of like, how are you? If you have some that are broad scope and some that are really focused, it frames the rest of the conversation. So like how I can help you is going to depend on whether I'm talking about me in the entirety of my world and I want to go study or live abroad or or play an instrument or whatever, or whether it's just focused on the work specific context about whether you can help me do my job faster or, develop my responsibilities or those kind of areas.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
And what I like about those questions is also when you listen to the answers, you actually, because they're very open, very broad questions, you actually learn a lot about those people, even though they wouldn't answer broadly. But, learn about the people and their thinking, how they reflect on things and, how they also choose what to share, what not to share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I also, many times I made these like a walking meetings.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So we went just and walk around.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice. And I had lots of walking.
You didn't walk in the production area. You walked outside somewhere,
outside,
I guess.
Yes, exactly. Outside. Yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of space to walk where you live, right?
Exactly. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Can I still ask about, this being a dick, it kind of is about being able to take responsibility, right? But then what are other dimensions of your leadership kind of approach? So how do you treat people, how you build relationships, how you see the development of people? What is more important, their performance or well-being and things like that?
I always have this like open door concept. My door is open all the time. And when it's not open, then it means like, don't come here. So it's always open. Yeah. And so it means that even though that we have development discussions like once a year, you can always come to me and discuss about these things too. And this is one thing also that when we have these development discussions, it's not that now it's your turn to say everything and then you cannot say anything after this, but next year. Yeah. But no, because now when we are openly discussing about things, maybe it starts to, build something in your head and you want to come back later and, now I have this kind of idea when we have this discussion. So it means that we are all the time, open for conversation and, developing to ideas or whatever, this kind of thing. And then when we have difficulties, it's so simple that we just have to sit down and face the problem. And if there is like a conflict going on with two persons, we have to sit down with those persons. Because if I learn something from leadership and from raising my two sons, There is always two sides of the story. Yeah? When you hear the one side, it can be like totally different than the other side. So there is no point like talking with people, separately.
Yeah.
You have to come to the table and sit down with those people. And if you have to, give them like the person who has the pen has the, the speech, then you have to do that. It's so simple, but sometimes you have to do this kind of things. And those people also, they have to face the problem. And this is like also one of the things that why I want to choose to be dick and not a sheep. If we are sheeps, then we will just, run away.
Yeah.
We don't want to, forward this.
And I think that's it's an ever increasing problem for a lot of companies because there's a lot of remote work and distance work and a lot of people that live inside their own information bubbles. And so the way that they view a problem or a bad relationship or even like something that happens within their organization that they don't have a full picture of, it's very easy for people to kind of build a narrative in their head of like, this was done against me or intentionally. And it's, this is like me against the world. And I think you're right. Like in many cases, daylight is the best. What's the word I'm looking for? Daylight is the best cleaner, something like that.
Yeah.
That it allows people to kind of say, well, it's not exactly all the way that you think it is. There are some things in there, but there's also another perspective to consider.
Because it's so easy to assume things, and then it starts to get wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to sit down and have the conversation. And we have done it many times. And it's good. It's a really good way to do it. It's so simple that, it's almost like can I say this? But it's working.
And the longer you make assumptions, the worse the problem gets.
Exactly.
So the faster you actually bring the people to the table to discuss.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if I can get you one example from like outside of the work so that everyone can get the idea. Let's say that you are going on a date and after 2 minutes, it's not a match. It's not a match. So now you have to do a decision. Am I going to be dick or am I going to be sheep? So this is like a classical. If you choose to be sheep, you start ghosting. So not answering messages, not answering phone calls, making excuses why we cannot see anymore. Other person is thinking, what's going on here? Why she doesn't want to see me anymore? What's wrong with me? I feel terrible. This is the sheep way of working. Yeah. But if you decide to be a dick, you say, latest the next day, but it would be better if you can do it right away. Thank you for meeting me. It was so nice to meet you, but we are not going to meet again. I hope you all the good in your future. And bye.
That sounds too nice for a dick. Okay.
Well, no. 2 minutes
no.
in, I'm not paying for dinner. That's a dick move.
No. That's exactly like a dick talk. It's really nice, but it's really tough. And it hurts the other one 1 minute, 1 day, something like that. But think about it. It's also like a gift that you are giving another person. If you can do that right away, the other person can go and have the actual match made in heaven like a next day and not ghosting. So this is like a classical thing. If you want to be an asshole, then you say, your face is ugly, I don't want to see you anymore. So that's totally different. We don't want to do that.
There's also intermediate way, which is a Finnish way.
Yeah.
You send a text message.
That's also quite good. But there also you have to, be really strict. We are not going to see each other anymore. Bye for now and have a happy future, But it takes the courage to find the dick inside you and make the right decision.
Can I ask you a question related to, you took over from your father, and I assume that being of different generations, you have quite a different style. How was that from your perspective, your father's perspective, and the employee's perspective?
My father is really like an innovative person, and that's really good thing because, for example, when I told him that I have this idea of open management team, he was like, "Oh, sounds good, do it." And I was like, "Okay, that was easy." So I was really like able to try anything, you know. So that wasn't the issue. Yeah.
Right.
So it was quite good, but I tried so many things, and it was also fun.
Yeah. What about the employees when you did the swap?
After that, I think there was like a 6 months or a couple of months that they were like, "Oh, what's going to happen? What are these development discussions? Maybe it's something else, you know. She's going to meet with everybody. If somebody leaving, what is happening?" Of course, we are human. When something is going to be different, it's a little bit scary. Of course, I understand. I totally understand. And I didn't want to do anything too, you know, like big things like during the first 6 months. But then we started to do like an open management team and so on.
Yeah, I could see that like as an opening gambit for a leader, that's probably going to put a lot of fear in the organization. Like, hey, I'm going to talk to everybody about your future.
Exactly.
It can be really misinterpreted.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make it feel safe first.
Yeah. I'm also doing these managing director discussions. Wärtsilä is in so many countries, and every legal company in those countries has a managing director. And there are something like, 60 managing directors. And when I started booking those meetings, even though I explained why these are, but, you know, you can explain as much as you want. But there's the first ones, especially perhaps the word has got around that she's not going to, you know, blame you about not doing something. But it was just interesting how differently it was perceived by their managing directors. Some were really open and they were like, "Hey, wow, this is great. We have never talked to the head of internal communications at Wärtsilä." And others were like, why am I here? Why are we here?
What did we do? What did we do wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just the same.
I want to talk a little bit about sheep. So I think in the introduction, we also mentioned that in addition to obviously being the CEO and now chairman, you kind of did some work actually within the company, kind of like at an employee level. At what level are there more sheep? Like if you think about like being on a production line, being at like a CEO and a leadership team level, and then also being at the board, where do you think there's like the greatest hesitation to talk openly?
You can find sheeps everywhere. So we are all human, you know. So you can also find sheeps from like the highest level. So yeah, I think that's the answer.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. But you can also find dicks everywhere, so don't worry.
Balances out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called nature.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but intuitively, I'm not sure everybody would kind of get that, because I think, you know, when particularly if you're newer in your organization or in your team, you'd assume that the leadership level or the board level would have just frank, professional, high-end conversations that are really accurate and crystal clear, and everything is, like clockwork. But not always the case.
No, I also the leaders can be really or can act in a really sheeply way, you know. So it doesn't look where are you working or whatever. So you can find them everywhere. And also all of us are sheep sometimes. I can also find that from myself. And then I have to, choose again. So there are some difficult, conversation, and I'm like, maybe I will just, go with the flow and not going to say what I'm thinking. And then it's going to be bad. And next time, okay, now I have to deal with this. Yeah.
Right. Is it Brené Brown who says clarity is kindness? or clear is kind, something like that. I don't know who it says.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Is this similar or is this the same?
I think this is more like a tough love, you know. My mission is to make leaders lovable dicks. So that when you are making the decisions, you are making them out of love, you know, not out of fear. And this is the difference.
Right. Yeah.
So you
Perhaps
can
not quite the same.
Yeah. It's not quite the same, but yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any examples from real life that you offered to explain what you mean by this, like lovable dicks?
Yeah.
So who would be a famous example of that in your understanding?
Well, I can have examples from my own life. So, for example, when you need to tell someone that this is the line that you cannot come across, you know, you cannot step here. This is like a tough love. So I think drawing the lines there, it's that kind of thing. So it might be like a love for yourself, for myself, so I can protect my lines, you know. Or it can be that we need to protect someone else. So there you have to be really tough, like, no, we are not going to do this. That's enough. Here is my line. Don't come near, you know, something like that. And it's coming from like, I want to love myself and this is my line. It's not coming from like fear that I want to, you know, start fighting or something. It's just that, that's it. This is my line. Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, have you ever had to have like, I mean, in that, so it's not an exact science when one has to take the reins and kind of act like a dick. Have you ever had to have kind of like clear the air talks or like apologies or like overstepped in some areas? And what's that like and how do you handle that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Now it's easier to see that sometimes when I'm myself running in a fight or flight mode, I'm started to do this kind of, you know, mistakes. So I'm starting to micromanaging. That's really awful thing to do, but sometimes we do. And it's something to do with the nervous system. You know, you are going too fast all the time and you start to get nervous about everything and you start to micromanaging, or then you start to, you know, be a little bit angry. Someone is coming to ask some question and you're like, why you are asking this question all the time? And it's terrible. And I had to go back and make apology. Like, I'm really sorry. That wasn't a good thing to do. So I had to do that like several times. It's terrible. But I have to do it. And that's kind of like using the dick card for myself so that I have to do this. Otherwise, I'm sheep myself and I cannot live like that because I invented that card. I have to do that.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to the responsibility piece, apologizing at the right time. And it's not easy, but I actually do see very little of apologizing in work life, even though there would be plenty of opportunities. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's less prevalent in society in general. No, I mean, a lot of like the American political scene, I think, influences a lot of pop culture and also some politics here in Europe. Like, I think the UK went through a big period of having politicians that just would not apologize after making ridiculous mistakes. And I think there are similar examples in many parts. I think the thesis is something like apologizing is a sign of weakness or
exactly.
Like
I think it's something to do with that. So you have to admit that you made a mistake and that might be too much for someone. Yeah.
Well, I have to continue this serious question. Now, this taking responsibility sounds great. And I think any organization would love to have people taking responsibility. But you just talk to us about how difficult that is in practice. So how do you actually kind of teach or kind of instill this kind of behavior in your organization so that people actually do start to take responsibility in practice?
Sometimes it's something like that we go together and write that email. That we have to, ask something, we have to tell something. We just sit together and write that email. We have to do this now and, handle this situation. But in a big picture, it's about communication and how to communicate. For example, this is my line, don't come any more near, yeah? So how do we communicate this in a right way? And this is what I want to teach to people. And first of all, you have to know yourself a little bit more. Like, what are your fears maybe? Why are you acting like this? And how to, calm down the nervous system to come to the safe place. And then from there, we can communicate these things like real dicks do. Yeah. And not like an angry way, not like an aggressive way, but in a good way. So that we are making the right decisions and doing the tough love thing, we have to do this, but we can do it in a nice way.
So you talk personally with everyone in the organization about this?
I want to teach people that courage that they can look at themselves. That's the first step. It's not only like a talking, but we have to do some, teaching there and have some tasks,
Okay. Well, I have a team of my own here. So how do I do that with them? Could you recommend some things that I could do?
First, I would like to know where is exactly the problem is, So what is the problem? Is it about communication? Is it about, I don't know, making the lines clear or whatever it is? But there is like a formula how you can communicate the hard things. In Finnish, it's called minä-lause. So you can, first you have to impress how you are feeling in that situation. And even that part, it's too hard for many people. Because in Finland, we have usually like two kind of feelings, like vituttaa ja ei vituta, So first of all, we have to, know a little bit more about our feelings. Maybe I'm nervous, I'm sad, I'm concerned, I'm happy. There is so many feelings other than those two. But that's the first part, that you have to recognize what is the feeling. And then you tell the other person what is the issue that is concerning or worrying you or why you are sad. The thing. And there you are not using the word you. And that's the clue of minä-lause, because you shouldn't use word you.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing there, because minä-lause is directly translated as an I sentence.
Yeah,
right? So
I sentence.
as in you own it. And Finnish language has something in common with corporate training, right? So Finnish language is relatively agnostic of person. So things happen in Finnish, you don't do things. So the Finnish example of I gave birth is vauva tuli, which is that the baby came, which is just such a nice way to say something which is very beautiful but violent. But also it's the same for corporate presentations. Not babies and stuff, but in corporate presentations, everyone is taught to not put I will do this, you will do that, we will do the other. You have to take the persona out of the pitch and out of the documentation and communication. So for years, decades, we've been training leaders to not think about processes and operations from the I perspective. And that's actually, I can now really relate to this first step, because so many leaders try so hard to not put themselves as an agent. And you first have to recognize, as we're doing this thing, this is how I feel about this thing that we're doing.
Yeah, because it's usually like you start like, why are you doing always this thing? Yeah? Instead of, I'm really a little bit worried about that this thing is happening now.
Yeah.
And then you continue by making a statement why this issue is important. So I want to bring up this issue because it's really important for our company. And after that, you make positive, like what is going to happen next. So let's have a meeting like once a week so we can discuss about this issue in the future, something like that.
Yeah.
So this is the way that I can teach how to communicate difficult things. But first, we have to do some work with ourselves so that we can even see how am I feeling right now. But it all starts there. And it's quite difficult sentence. So first you have to stop and you have to calm down. And that's why it's something to do and a lot to do with the nervous system. Because if you are in a fight or flight mode and you want to fight with somebody, you are not going to do any I sentences.
True.
So it's quite like a big issue. First you have to know yourself, calm down, and then you can make the I sentence and then.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also another, like, if I think about it, like, as a leader, what's the percentage? Like, as a leader, you get asked to do stuff all the time. And of all the things you ever get asked to do as a leader, either with your team or through your team or for your team, maybe half you don't want to do. Like, and I think, I'm not sure, it's a good question how many teams really understand that about being a manager or a leader, is that I would say most of the time, like 51%, whatever you're doing, the manager also probably doesn't want to do it. And it's a good question, have they taken the time to actually process how do they feel about the request, and then how do they adjust what they do? Or do they just push down the feeling of, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it, and then just do it however?
Yeah, and that's kind of also like a cheap way of doing things. Because you know that you don't want to do it for some reason, but you don't have the courage to, face the feeling or whatever it is. So it's also into this Descartes, world.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, do I understand correctly that Ferroplan just opened like a branch in Germany?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So in this kind of big multinational companies, usually it's a lot about how culture is being transferred to foreign units, right? So now if we're talking about this, well, the concept of DIC, right? Are you planning to transfer that to Germany office as well, so that there will be like a common culture across different units of the company? And do you think it will actually work there? Or maybe you tried already? So what's the experience? What are the plans about that?
When I first invented this card, it was like 10 years ago, and we were smaller. So it was easier to have, all the people around you and, make this kind of concept. So this is really good question, what to do when we are growing. We also have this cultural thing, which is ei mitään rimpuloita, not flimsy. It's easier to have this kind of culture, when we go to Germany or Sweden or whatever. So it's like a way of doing things, like not flimsy. I think the DIC card is inside there. So not flimsy, it means also the attitude. So we want to make it like a strict way and a courage way, and okay, our conveyors are not flimsy, but it also says about attitude. So we want to be honest, we want to, make our work in a good way, we want to treat each other a good way, we want to treat our customer in a good way. So nowadays, it's like in our slogan, I would say. But maybe someday I will go to Germany and, have a little DIC conversation with everybody.
I've told you before that I think that should be on your company expenses card. Like the DIC card. That way, when they're in a restaurant and they're charging it back to the company, there's like a reminder.
Well, I'm sure that it might work in Germany, but not in Sweden.
Might be. Yeah.
Flimsy part. Come on, Swedes. Yeah.
Yeah. Although actually, there was that thing, the dream team. That's something I did want to ask before we close. Like, you mentioned in the intro that the dream team is the one responsible for the culture. What's the concept of the dream team? How does it work? Who gets in it? Like,
we have the normal management team, which is according to organization chart. And then I wanted to do something else. So I made open management team, and it was open for all employees. So we made this kind of application process for everybody. Everybody was welcome to the open team. And I had 18 applications, and there were 6 people coming into team. So we met like once a month, and everybody has their turn of chairperson. So this is kind of taking the responsibility. You have to take the responsibility. It's totally different than me as a CEO is all the time the chairperson, you know. But everybody has their own turn. So it was really interesting. And it was really good to work with people who wanted to come in the group by their own motivation. They wanted to develop everything. So it was really good.
Yeah, that's and also like an open application, anybody can apply, and they're responsible for like making like guardians of the culture, trying to help build and keep the way things are, like, or what's special about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great tip, I think, for anybody that wants to focus on authentic culture and development in their organization.
Yeah, and in bigger companies, I know that maybe you have to have the real management team, but you can have this also. Just to make sure that the culture is going to right direction and try to do things a little bit different. So you can have both.
I've read again in one of your interviews is that you don't allow any computers, any technology in your meetings, only pen and paper. Where does that come from, and why is that?
Because usually when we go to meeting, everybody has their laptops and they are reading the email, they are reading the, Iltalehti ja Iltasanomat, and so on and so on and so on. And it's really bad way of making meetings. So we decided that when we start, everybody has to leave their laptops and, phones outside. And only the one who is presenting has the laptop. So the concentration is there. And we don't have any secretary also. So everybody is making their own notes. And taking responsibility of their own tasks so that they are going, like they are going.
So how do you know that the notes are the same everywhere after the meeting?
They don't have to be same. You have your notes, I have my notes because I have my tasks. And then we were responsible for making those tasks in our internal, list. And everybody could see that list. So everybody could see what we are doing in Dream Team and how is it going. And also people started to invite our group in their homes.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Like we didn't want to have a meeting in company, premises. So we always wanted to go somewhere else. So there were like a meeting where we had SWOT. And then we are sitting on a couch and, eating the chocolate cake, which made by Janne or somebody. So that was really nice thing to do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Really good. Yeah, I can imagine it keeping the whole group grounded and like focused and, in touch. Minna, thank you very much. This has been a really great time that we've spent. You've been really generous with your time. Thank you. We didn't get to talk about the wolves, about defending ourselves from wolves, but maybe for the next time. For those of you who were a bit uncomfortable with the dick language and terminology, we're not sorry because we're also dicks.
Yay!
But thanks again, Minna. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Minna Patosalmi from Orimattila. Really interesting conversation. I don't know, part of like my background and my childhood, I'm from a part of Northern England where the language is always a bit colourful, a little bit agricultural. And for me, it's really refreshing to have someone talk about leadership that doesn't try to cloud the subject in fancy language. Like I really, really appreciate that sort of authenticity. So I had a great time talking about the dick card and the rest of it.
That's because you're sitting on a nice couch.
I am sitting on the couch.
And it's a sunny day.
And it's a sunny day in Finland, exactly. For all you listeners out there. But how do you guys feel? What do we think? What did Minna teach us about Finnish leadership? Alexei.
Well, what does she teach me about Finnish leadership? Well, I think it's a very interesting approach, very unorthodox, very brave, interesting ideas that she has. To some extent, I think it's a kind of deviation maybe from what I picture, myself, what Finnish leadership is. Definitely it's not something that you would read in textbooks. Maybe in some, but not in usual leadership textbooks. But on the other hand, I find this quite interesting that this ideas about being a dick, they have quite nice kind of connotation, or not connotation, but the relationship to Finnish culture, I think, because this, directness of what we believe is a feature of Finnish culture. So I think that's, being able to say that I'm a dick and behave in this way. So this directness is kind of celebrated in this approach. So that's nice. It also shows kind of a brave side of Finnish leadership, I think, because we talked a lot about Finns being, humble maybe, and, not very outspoken and so on. Here, it's kind of a strong statement, I'm a dick as a leader. So, and then, of course, another thing is that I've learned that you can be an optimist even when you live in Orimattila. So that's a good news. But yeah, interesting take, very interesting person, Minna, and then, well, it was great insights into like the work that she does and the industry that she works in.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the journey of her, or in her career. She started as a trainee in her father's company, became something else probably in between, then a CEO, now the chair of the board. She's a mentor, and probably on that way developed this philosophy of meaningful conversations and meaningful business. And also, I would assume that the direct talk, the plain talk, comes from the fact that she has always been dealing with people who work in production lines, who are savvy, self-esteemed, but who do work with their hands.
Yeah.
And also the language they appreciate most probably is, as you said, we Finns tend to be quite straight talkers and shooters. So that is probably what led to her philosophy also to be phrased in this way as it is. I would assume that has been a huge learning, or that is reflected also in her leadership philosophy, the moving from trainee to chair of the board to a mentor, where she mentors many other board members and so on. So I think that was insightful. It was audible. I cannot now point my finger where it was audible, but I think it was audible in the way how she expressed her leadership philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she was, very clear. Very clear, is that the right word? Maybe the better way to think about it, or the way I think about it, is she tried to boil things down to simple steps. Talk about how you're feeling. Talk about simple questions to get people on the page for personal development. I know there's a lot of things you can do to make that process more sophisticated or more integrated or more strategic. But at a very basic level, if you want to help people develop, you have to know what they're doing, what they want to do, how you can help them. And for all of the other strategic alignment stuff, if you can't answer those three basic things, then you're not going to be able to help somebody develop personally.
And I think also, there's no jargon in how she explains things. There's no HR jargon. We have had a lot of HR jargon talk on this podcast, but
that's true.
It was refreshing.
Yeah, it was. I think it was. Yeah, and we touched about it really like only at the end about, for example, opening up in Germany. But while she was CEO and as she transitioned to the board, we have to keep in mind that company grew across multiple countries from Finland, and it did so like over the pandemic period. And it's a production business, right? So it faced severe economic challenges and overcame them. And so I think I kind of wish, looking back, that I'd raised that or highlighted that a bit more in the conversation, because she's been very successful. And I think this is how, I think you can see how, because she's direct and to the point and uncompromising when it's time to face up to any issues. But yeah, I think to me what it says is that Finns will, however they can, tackle something head on. Like there's not really like there won't be any dancing around a subject. Like it's either we're not talking about it or then okay, we're going to sort it out. And I think that's a really good trait of Finnish leadership and something that I think Minna has in abundance. Good.
Yeah. You said in the closing that we understand this talk because we are all dicks. We are lovable dicks.
We're all lovable dicks. That's true, except Alexei.
Yeah.
Can I deviate here and disagree? What was that? Respectfully disagree. Yeah.
Respectfully disagree.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep discussing, okay?
We'll keep discussing. Don't be a sheep. Don't avoid the conversation.
I
Alexei.
love sheep. They're beautiful animals.
Hey, okay.
And it's not true that they always run. They actually stay always where you leave them.
But all right, but let's go through it. Like she said, Alexei, how are you feeling? Why this term, being a lovable dick, you're not comfortable with it? Why?
Lovable sheep.
Lovable sheep. I am avoiding this conversation, and I will continue to do so.
Yeah, let's continue next time. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, guys, hey, thank you very much. As always, it's been great fun.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bella.
Okay, as always then, thank you guys for having a great conversation and making this so enjoyable. And as always, thank you to Bella behind the mics and on the mixing board, who has established a new company, Digital Fireworks. So if you want to work on your employer brand, communication styles, or the effectiveness of your media production, check out Digital Fireworks. Also check out Minna Patosalmi and her academy. We'll put all the links to her websites in the notes for the show, and we will catch you all next time.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.